Hello and welcome to episode 25 now of Mathghamhain Morsels. This will be in the Sanguine Start series, and this is going to be the first thing that I made entirely myself. In the previous episode, you saw me make popovers, which I helped out making, but I didn't make by myself. This is the first thing that I figured out how to cook after I decided I couldn't stomach eating pizza for every dinner and every lunch when my father was home and my mother was still overseas. So, for this recipe, it's a chicken, bacon, onion, mushroom, lemon, capers, pasta thing. It's really delicious. I don't really have a name, so I'll just call it, bacon lemon chicken. That'll work. So, I've already done a lot of the prep work. I sliced up the bacon to the size I wanted, sliced up the onions. I roasted the mushrooms with some salt and sliced them up. Got the capers out, got a fair bit of garlic. That's about 1.5 tablespoons of garlic. For the chicken, like I said, I sliced it up. This is chicken breast meat. Then I tossed it in about a 1/4 cup of flour. I don't know, probably more, about a 1/2 cup of flour. Teaspoon of black garlic, teaspoon of smoked garlic, and some summer savory. I didn't have the 2 garlics when I first made it. I just made it with normal garlic. But I've made this a number of times since, and I always tweak the flavoring a little bit. So, if you remember the chicken corn bacon pie, this is going to start fairly similar. I'm going to fry off the bacon, then throw in the chicken, make sure that it gets brown on all sides. Pull the chicken out, let it sit for a few moments while I fry up the onion and mushrooms. Then toss in the garlic, toss back in the bacon and chicken, add in some chicken stock, let that bubble away for a bit, add in some lemon juice, taste it throughout, toss in the capers, and that's going to be served on top of pasta. The first time I made it, I think I served it on top of spaghetti. But I found Spätzle works rather well with this dish. So tonight it's going to be on Spätzle. So I'll join you guys in the kitchen. I'm going to be doing something slightly different with the kitchen portion of this, I think. Let me know if you guys like this way, or if you want a return to my older way of doing it, because I think this will make it so that the videos are more bite-sized, if you would. So I'll catch you guys in the kitchen. Okay, so here we are in the kitchen. As you can see, I have bacon already in the pan that's currently frying up. As I said, I'm trying something slightly new, so this is all ADR'd, and the video is being played at about 4 times speed. So, just going to make sure that my bacon gets nice and crispy as I go. The back burner, I have a pot of water that has been heavily salted that is currently bubbling away. I'll be adding Spätzle to that here in a few moments. I don't want to add too early since the Spätzle only takes about 14 minutes or so to cook through to doneness, at least to the al dente that I want. This is again going to be that triple smoked bacon that I used for the chicken corn bacon pie. And that stuff is just absolutely amazing. I love it. It has fantastic flavor, depth of flavor, that amazing fat that just flavors everything, that salt. Just delicious little meaty hunks of goodness. So this is going to take a little bit to fry up, but once I finish frying up, I'm going to end up having to drain it. Remember, whenever you're draining any sort of meat, you don't drain it directly into your sink because that fat will destroy your plumbing. So what you want to do is you want to set up a can or bottle, something like that you can drain into. You can already see certain bits of the bacon are looking absolutely beautiful. I'm going to keep mixing it every so often. I just added in the Spätzle. And the Spätzle I'm going to be taking out before everything else is done, just to give it a few moments to come back down and cool down a little bit. But it's a fantastic egg noodle. Has a nice meaty little bite to it. I love that stuff. And it holds up amazingly with the sauce that we're going to be making with this dish. So, the bacon is now done. Like I said, just moving it over. I have this little sieve that I use draining into the pan originally, and then that's just going to go set on top of my fat can to make sure that any additional fat that runs off drips straight down into the can and not into my sink. And now the chicken goes in. This is about a pound or so of chicken breasts that was cut into fingers and then just cut into nice little bite-sized chunks for me. Don't want to overcrowd, but I can put in a fair bit of chicken and still make sure that it gets enough contact with the pan and enough coloration. I had a bit too much to do in one go, so I'm going to fry up part of the chicken and then continue on with the next part. I'm again looking for a nice golden brown when I flip it over, just like I was when I was dealing with the chicken corn bacon pie. So you'll see me check a few times and tip the pan this way and that, make sure that the fat gets all around. As I've said many times, taste everything as you go, so you just saw me pull up the little internal strainer that my pot had back there and pull out a bit of Spätzle to see how done the Spätzle was. It was still a bit too firm, but it was coming along nicely. So you can see the absolutely beautiful golden brown color on this chicken as I flip it. And that's really what I want, because that will give an amazing depth of flavor. So, all of that chicken was good. Keep on tilting the pan, make sure that the fat gets around and near every piece of chicken, because that delicious bacon fat's just going to up the depth of flavor on all those pieces of chicken. The black garlic and that smoked garlic already around it. And this was making absolutely amazing sputtering, crackling sounds as that bacon fat just bubbled up and fried the chicken. As I go, once it's done, I'm going to move that into the same strainer that I used for the bacon and move it around the pan if certain pieces are not on the heat as much as other pieces. Since this isn't one of my cast irons, it doesn't heat as evenly as my cast iron does, but it still heats fairly well. Going to continue throwing in the chicken, and as I throw in the chicken, you'll notice that I'm fairly careful to make sure that the part of the chicken that is last to hit the pan is the part that is furthest away from me. And that's just to make sure that I don't splash myself with that hot bacon grease. Because while it does amazing things for this meal, it would really suck getting the third-degree burn that would no doubt give me. So all of the first batch of chicken is done. Now I'm just working on that second batch of chicken, which will take a fair bit longer. So again, just move your pan around if it's not completely flat. See how dark your chicken is. If it's looking nice, then flip it over. If it looks like it needs a little bit more time, give it some more time. You want to make sure that it gets all that coloration right now, because you won't really have a chance to get coloration at any other point in this cooking process. So the chicken is almost done, just needs a little bit longer. And as it goes, again, I'll just be grabbing the pieces that look good, moving them over to rest a little bit. And there we go, there's all of that. Now in with those onions and those already roasted mushrooms. The mushrooms were just roasted with a little bit of that Salzburg berg salts that I've used in a 350 degree oven. The onion was just one small Vidalia onion. And then I threw in, like I said, about that tablespoon and a half of garlic. I just quickly drained off all of that and then returned it to the pan along with the chicken and the bacon. And I just threw it on, or not threw it on, not sure where that word came from, threw on some chicken Parmesan brodo. It's a Italian broth that has a lot of flavor. I really like it, and it goes beautifully with this dish. So everything's back in, and it's just bubbling away. I haven't added the capers quite yet, but those will be thrown in here in a moment. And the lemon juice that I mentioned early on, that'll be added towards the end, and it'll be a bit less than an ounce of lemon juice, just because that was what I got when I juiced the bit of lemon that I had left. I only had about half a lemon on hand, but it worked beautifully. Tasted fantastic in this. This is just going to bubble down, let the broth thicken a little bit, and in order to make sure that it thickens enough, you're going to see me occasionally make a hole in the absolutely beautiful little glop creation that I have here. And I'm also going to be tasting it throughout. I just took a piece of chicken a couple moments ago. In go the capers, gets tossed around, mixed around, make sure that they get all the way through the sauce, because you don't want to have all of it just in one part. You want it perfuming the entire sauce, because it gives a nice salty, briny, acidic note to the dish. I just threw in a little bit of potato starch just to thicken it up a bit more. You can thicken it up with your preferred method. Normally I've done the flour and butter thickening. This time I just used potato starch. Works wonders. So here we are back at my desk. And let's dig to the bottom, get some of that spätzle up, get some bacon, a caper, and a couple hunks of chicken. Let's give this a taste. So, the lemon came through that nice and smoky bacon. I think I forgot to mention I used a triple smoked bacon for this. Comes across beautifully. The garlics and herbs that were in the flour with the chicken. Oh, that's amazing. The onion gives a nice sweetness. Lemon juice gives some acidity to cut through everything. And those roasted mushrooms that then were sliced and thrown back in and sauteed a little bit more in that bacon fat. Oh, absolutely delicious. This, like I said, was the first meal that I can remember actually making myself. And it's one of those insanely simple meals that has a hell of a lot of flavor. So you just find yourself constantly returning to it. And this led to another meal that's a bit similar. That rather than using lemon juice, I use some white wine, a good German white wine like a semi-sweet, semi-dry Riesling, and then I do a cream sauce at the end. And again, I serve it over Spätzle, and it's absolutely delicious. And I've done that with chicken, I've done that with pork. Just fantastic, no matter what I throw in it. So, this seems a good place to leave off. I'll just continue eating this delicious bowl of amazingness. But I'll leave off with my normal bit of advice of try new things, adapt old recipes that you have with new ingredients that you found, see if they work out, see if they taste better than what you originally were doing. Constantly work, tinker, and try new things, experiment with your food, have fun with your food, enjoy life. And with that, have a good one all.